Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 406, The Great Dishwasher Mystery. Upper Beginner. Once upon a time in the small town of Pickleton, there lived a man named Mr. Tiddlesworth. Now, Mr. Tiddlesworth had a problem. His dishwasher was behaving very strangely. It was not the usual kind of problem, like not cleaning the dishes properly. No, his dishwasher was making mysterious noises at night. Imagine a cat trying to sing opera, and you might have an idea of the sound. Mr. Tiddlesworth was curious and a little scared. He lived alone with his cat, Whiskers, in a small, cosy house by the river. He decided it was time to solve the mystery of the singing dishwasher. One evening he sat down with Whiskers and made a plan. "Whiskers," he said, "tonight you and I are going to catch the mystery noise." Whiskers didn't care much about the plan, she just wanted her dinner. That night, Mr. Tiddlesworth turned off all the lights and prepared to stay awake. He made himself a cup of strong tea and gave Whiskers an extra treat as a bribe for staying awake with him. As the clock struck midnight, the weird noise began again. It started softly, a gentle hum. Mr. Tiddlesworth tiptoed into the kitchen. He switched on his flashlight and moved closer to the dishwasher. The closer he got, the louder the noise became. It was like listening to a concert where the only instrument was confusion. Suddenly, the flashlight flickered, casting weird shadows all over the kitchen. Mr. Tiddlesworth felt his heartbeat quicken. "Who's there?" he whispered, but of course there was no answer. With trembling hands, he opened the dishwasher door. To his surprise, he found nothing out of the ordinary, just a few plates, a cup and a fork. Feeling a bit foolish, he closed the door, but then the noise changed. Now it sounded like a small jazz band had taken up residence inside the machine. Determined to solve the mystery, Mr. Tiddlesworth decided to call his neighbour, Mrs. Bumble, who was well known for her odd collection of strange gadgets and her love for unusual experiments. Maybe she could help. The next morning, Mr. Tiddlesworth visited Mrs. Bumble. Her house was filled with ticking clocks, unusual plants and strange books. "Ah, the singing dishwasher," she exclaimed when she heard his story. "I've read about this. You have a musical mechanism mixed up. Quite rare." Mrs. Bumble offered to come over that evening. "We will fix it with the power of science," she declared. She arrived with a large bag filled with strange tools and a determined look in her eyes. Whiskers looked at Mrs. Bumble as if to say, "Good luck with that." Night fell and the strange noise began once again. Mrs. Bumble instructed Mr. Tiddlesworth to turn off all the noise in the house so they could concentrate. Then she pulled out a strange tool that looked like a cross between a screwdriver and a stethoscope. With careful listening and poking around, Mrs. Bumble discovered that Mr. Tiddlesworth had actually been hosting a family of mice that had taken a liking to his dishwasher. They had found warm, cosy places behind it and were having nightly parties with bits of food they collected from the kitchen. "Oh dear," Mr. Tiddlesworth chuckled when they found the mice. "I suppose I've been having a jazz-themed mouse party every night." With Whiskers' help, who suddenly found the situation much more interesting, they relocated the mice to a nice spot in Mrs. Bumble's garden, far away from appliances of any sort. From that day on, the dishwasher was silent. Mr. Tiddlesworth was relieved, and Whiskers was happy to have a quiet house once again, although she did miss the occasional excitement. As for Mrs. Bumble, she added "musical mouse party solver" to her list of peculiar achievements, and thus the great dishwasher mystery was solved, leaving Mr. Tiddlesworth to enjoy his tea in peace and Whiskers to nap without interruption. And that, dear friends, is how a singing dishwasher became the talk of Pickleton, proving that sometimes the strangest problems have the simplest solutions. Vocabulary notes. Curious, definition, eager to know or learn something. Example, Mr. Tittlesworth was curious and a little scared. Similar words, inquisitive, interested, intrigued. Cozy, definition, giving a feeling of comfort, warmth and relaxation. Example, he lived alone with his cat, Whiskers, in a small, cozy house by the river. Similar words, comfortable, snug, warm. Mysterious, definition, difficult or impossible to understand, explain or identify. Example, his dishwasher was making mysterious noises at night. Similar words, enigmatic, puzzling, strange. Determined, definition, having made a firm decision and being resolved not to change it. Example, Mrs. Bumble arrived with a large bag filled with strange tools and a determined look in her eyes. Similar words, resolute, steadfast, unwavering. Reluctant, definition, unwilling and hesitant. Example, not directly in the story, but Mr. Tittlesworth could be described as reluctant to investigate the dishwasher initially due to fear. Similar words, hesitant, unwilling, disinclined. Mystery, definition, something that is difficult or impossible to understand or explain. Example, it was time to solve the mystery of the singing dishwasher. Similar words, puzzle, enigma, conundrum. Relocate, definition, move to a new place and establish one's home or business there. Example, they relocated the mice to a nice spot in Mrs. Bumble's garden. Similar words, move, transfer, resettle. Peculiar, definition, strange or odd, unusual. Example, Mrs. Bumble, she added musical mouse party solver to her list of peculiar achievements. Similar words, strange, odd, unusual. Story written by ChatGPT 4.0 AI. Image created by Flux, Schnell, Black Forest Labs AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Hello, this is Steve. If you enjoyed the story, please would you take the time to leave a meaningful comment and click on the like icon. If you want to know when the next story has been uploaded, please click on the notify bell icon to be notified. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and tell your English learning friends so they can benefit too. Thank you.